The ocean had always been a place of mystery. But for the crew of the research vessel Aurora, the depths of the Mariana Trench were more than just water. They were the frontier of human discovery. The ship's hull creaked softly as it floated above the abyss, its sonar systems scanning the black waters below. Dr. Maya Patel, the mission's lead oceanographer, leaned over the monitor, her eyes narrowing at a strange blip that danced across the screen. "Captain," she said, her voice tight with excitement. "There's something down there. It's moving." Captain Elias Grant frowned, adjusting his headset. "Moving? You mean the usual tectonic shifts?" "No," Maya said, pointing at the screen. "This is deliberate movement. Look at it slow, steady, rising from the trench floor." The room was silent for a moment, everyone staring at the faint outline on the sonar. It was enormous, far larger than any submarine or natural formation the crew had encountered. Its shape was angular, suggesting it was man-made, but decades old, corroded, and encrusted with the marine life that had claimed it as its home. Dr. Lin Tran, the ship's engineer, adjusted her glasses. "That can't be. That's the Odyssey. The spacecraft that vanished 27 years ago." The mention of the name caused a ripple through the crew. The Odyssey had been humanity's first attempt at interstellar exploration, sent to a distant exoplanet system. Its failure was a national tragedy. Every piece of equipment, every crew member, had been lost, or so it was thought. Maya's voice trembled slightly. "It's rising. Slowly, but rising. Something is moving it." Captain Grant stood, running a hand through his graying hair. Something, or someone, they all knew the stakes. The Odyssey had never been found before. Its recovery could provide insights that would change humanity's understanding of space travel. But the fact that it was moving by itself suggested something beyond ordinary ocean currents. The crew quickly prepared a submersible, the Deep Explorer, a sleek, compact vessel designed for deep ocean investigation. Maya and Lin would pilot it, along with 2 other researchers, to study the ship up close. The atmosphere on the Aurora was tense. Everyone wanted answers, but no one wanted to risk lives recklessly. As the Deep Explorer descended into the abyss, the sunlight disappeared completely, replaced by the blackness of the deep ocean. The submersible's lights cut through the darkness, revealing strange formations of rock, twisted metal, and the occasional bioluminescent creature drifting in the currents. "Depth is 10,000 meters and dropping," Lin said, her voice steady despite the thrill coursing through her veins. "The Odyssey should be just ahead." Suddenly, the sonar pinged again. The ship was closer than expected, but it had changed its position slightly, as if aware of their approach. Maya frowned. It moved. It avoided the ridge. "Did you see that?" Lin nodded. "It's responding to something. Maybe the currents, or maybe something else." The Deep Explorer continued downward, the tension inside the vessel mounting. The crew could now make out the full silhouette of the Odyssey. It was massive, a relic of an era when humanity dared to dream beyond the stars. Its hull was pitted and scarred, but the overall shape remained intact. The lights of the submersible glinted off its surface, revealing symbols etched into the metal symbols no one had ever deciphered fully. Maya leaned closer to the console. "It's beautiful, but it's moving without engines, without propulsion. It's like it's alive." Lin swallowed hard. "Alive, or guided. Something is guiding it." The Deep Explorer approached the ship cautiously. As they moved alongside the hull, the currents shifted unexpectedly, pushing the submersible back. The sensors went wild. "Captain, it's like the ship knows we're here," Maya whispered over the comm. Captain Grant's voice came through, calm but firm. "Stay safe. Do not touch anything. Just observe." The submersible hovered near a large hatch, long corroded but still sealed. A sudden pulse of light emitted from the ship, illuminating the interior faintly through a series of cracked windows. Inside, the crew could just make out shapes that hinted at life, Or perhaps machinery frozen in time. It's waiting for something, Lynn murmured. Maya's eyes widened. Or someone. Maybe it's responding to us. The ship shuddered slightly, as if acknowledging their presence. Tiny mechanical movements could be detected, panels sliding, vents opening, as if the Odyssey were awakening from a long sleep. The submersible's instruments picked up faint energy readings, unlike anything recorded before. They were stable, controlled, deliberate. It's artificial intelligence, Maya said, almost to herself. It's alive in a way we can't fully understand yet. Lynn frowned, looking at the readings. AI designed for interstellar travel, submerged for decades, and now rising slowly through the ocean? That's extraordinary. Back on the surface, the Aurora's crew watched the sonar feed nervously. The Odyssey continued its ascent, moving with perfect coordination. No waves, no collisions, no random drift. It was as if an unseen hand guided it, steady and precise. Captain Grant rubbed his chin. This is bigger than any salvage operation. We need to consider what this ship is capable of and what it wants. Maya's voice came again, tense. Captain, I think it's testing us. The way it moved away from the ridge, the pulse of light it's observing. Learning. It knows we're here. The submersible continued to document the ship, scanning its exterior and transmitting data back to the Aurora. Every moment brought new revelations. Alien-like structural designs, strange energy signatures, and a sense of intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The Odyssey kept rising, never fast, never too slow. The deeper the submersible went, the more it became clear that the ship's movement was purposeful. Something or someone was guiding it upward, leading it toward the surface. Suddenly, the submersible detected a faint signal emanating from inside the Odyssey. It was a sequence of pulses, rhythmic and precise. Maya and Lynn exchanged nervous glances. Could it be communication? Lynn asked. Maya shook her head slightly. It's not human. It's a language we've never heard. The moment was electrifying. They were not simply witnessing a ship rise from the ocean floor, they were witnessing the awakening of something ancient and unknown. A force that had chosen to reveal itself to humanity. As the Odyssey continued its slow ascent, the ocean around it seemed to react. Schools of fish scattered, currents shifted subtly, and even the sonar readings danced in strange patterns. It was as if the environment itself recognized the presence of this mysterious intelligence. Captain Grant's voice came through again. Quiet and awed. Keep monitoring. Keep recording. We don't know what we're dealing with. But this is history. The deep explorer hovered near the ship one last time, capturing images of its hull, its symbols, and its strange glow. Then, as if acknowledging their respectful distance, the Odyssey accelerated slightly, moving with a smooth grace toward the shallower waters. Maya felt a thrill of exhilaration mixed with fear. Humanity had always looked to the stars for answers. But here, in the deepest ocean, the stars had come to them. The ship was more than a relic, it was a message, a test, a guide. And as the sunken vessel rose slowly through the dark waters, the crew of the Aurora realized that the story of human exploration was about to change forever. Something was guiding the Odyssey. And whatever it was, it had chosen to reveal itself in the depths of the ocean, leaving humanity to wonder why, and what it would mean for the future. The Aurora's crew stayed in position, eyes glued to the screens, hearts pounding with anticipation. The first part of the mystery had revealed itself, but many questions remained. Who or what was guiding the ship? What secrets lay inside the Odyssey? And most importantly, why now? For the first time in decades, the ocean did not seem like a dark, empty place. It was alive, with possibility, with intelligence, with the promise of something greater than humanity had ever imagined. And as the Odyssey continued its slow, deliberate rise, the crew could not help but feel that they were witnessing the beginning of a new chapter, not just for science, but for humanity itself. The Odyssey had risen steadily through the dark waters, guided by a force no one could explain. The Aurora's crew watched in awe as the giant ship moved with purpose, each motion deliberate and precise. There was no chaos in its ascent, no random drift, just a silent intelligence leading it upward. For the first time, the team felt that they were not just observers, but participants in something far greater than themselves. Inside the Deep Explorer, Maya Patel and Lin Tran prepared for the next step. They had to investigate the ship's interior, to find out what had caused it to move on its own after decades underwater. The submersible was small but equipped with the latest scanning and sampling tools, capable of piercing the ship's hull if necessary. "Are you sure we should go inside?" Lin asked, her hand resting on the control panel. "We don't know what we'll find or what it might do." Maya glanced at her, her expression calm but determined. "We have to. Humanity has waited decades to find the Odyssey. If we don't explore it now, we'll never know what's guiding it or why." The submersible descended slowly, approaching the ship's massive hull. The closer they got, the more details became visible. Corrosion had left streaks of rust across the metal. But oddly, some panels seemed untouched, glowing faintly with energy. Strange markings ran along the sides of the ship, etched into the metal in patterns that seemed almost intentional, as if they formed a language or code. "Look at this," Maya whispered. She pointed at a sequence of symbols that ran along the edge of the hull. "These aren't random. They're a message or instructions." Lin studied the images on the monitor. "It looks alien, but it's also familiar somehow. The design patterns are too precise, too deliberate to be anything but intelligent." The submersible's lights swept across a hatch that had remained closed for decades. Sensors indicated the lock was still functional, though heavily corroded. Maya and Lin exchanged a look. This would be the first human entry into the Odyssey in 27 years. With careful movements, Maya extended the submersible's robotic arm, touching the hatch. It responded with a soft hum, and to their amazement, it slowly opened as if welcoming them. The inside was dark, but intact. The walls of the corridor glimmered faintly, lit by an energy that seemed to pulse with life. "It's active," Lin breathed. "The ship isn't dead. It's awake." Maya nodded, scanning the walls with the submersible's sensors. Data streamed in. Faint energy readings, traces of unknown materials, and structures that were both mechanical and biological in appearance. The Odyssey was alive in a sense they had never imagined. As they moved deeper inside, the submersible detected small movements, panels sliding, vents opening, machinery activating. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. The ship was responding to their presence. "Do you think it knows we're here?" Lin asked quietly. Maya hesitated. "I think it does. It's learning, observing, waiting. We're part of its test now." The corridor opened into a large chamber. Inside, the submersible's lights revealed rows of consoles and displays, long dormant but now flickering faintly. In the center of the room stood a crystalline structure, radiating a soft glow. Maya could feel her heart racing. This was not just technology. It was something far beyond human understanding. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "But it's more than that. It's alive." As they scanned the chamber, a sudden pulse of light traveled through the structure. The submersible's instruments picked up a signal patterns of energy that resembled a language, though unlike anything they had ever studied. It was not sound, not text, not image, it was communication through energy itself. Lin's eyes widened. "It's trying to talk to us. I think it wants us to understand." Maya nodded slowly. "We need to be careful. Any sudden action might trigger a response we can't control. Let's observe and record everything." Back on the Aurora, the crew monitored the submersible. The data streaming in was unlike anything they had ever seen. Fluctuating energy fields, strange readings, and signs of mechanical systems activating in response to the submersible's presence. The Odyssey was alive, and it was interacting with them. Hours passed as the deep explorer moved through the ship, documenting its interior. In the engineering bay, they found partially preserved propulsion systems and storage units, still operational, but silent. In the observation deck, they discovered logs and records messages from the crew who had once sailed this ship into the stars. But there was something else in these logs. Encrypted messages, likely from the AI that had guided the vessel. "Look at this," Maya said, pointing to a series of symbols on a console. "These aren't just instructions, they're notes." The AI, it was documenting the mission. Lynn studied the display. "It's like it's waiting for us to read them, to learn from us. Maybe it wants us to continue what the original crew started." Suddenly, the submersible detected movement outside the chamber. Something large was moving within the ship. Subtle, but undeniable. The crew of the Aurora held their breath. "Calm down," Maya said into her headset. "Whatever it is, it's not hostile. It's intelligent. We need to stay calm and continue observing." The movements were indeed deliberate. Panels shifted, vents opened, and a soft hum resonated through the chamber. It was as if the ship itself were breathing, reacting to the presence of humans. "Captain," Lynn said, her voice tense, "I think it's testing us. It wants to see if we understand, if we're worthy of the knowledge it holds." Captain Grant's voice came through the comm, steady but filled with awe. "Keep your distance. Record everything. Do not attempt to touch anything unless you're certain it's safe." Maya nodded, though her hands trembled slightly. They continued through the corridors, discovering more chambers filled with technology that defied human understanding. Machines that seemed alive, interfaces that responded to thought patterns, and a faint sense that the ship itself was learning from them. In one room, they found a chamber filled with stasis pods. The remains of the original crew were inside, preserved perfectly despite the decades underwater. There were no signs of decay, only a peaceful stillness. It was a reminder of the cost of human ambition, the sacrifices made to explore the unknown. "It's honoring them," Maya said softly. "The AI, it remembers. It's preserving their legacy." Lynn nodded, her eyes scanning the pods. "And it's guiding us now, showing us what we need to see. Maybe it wants humanity to learn, to grow, to continue what they started." As they moved to the central chamber, the AI's presence became even more pronounced. The crystalline structure pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow, and the energy readings suggested an intelligence far beyond anything humans had ever created. It was aware of them, and aware of their intentions. Maya placed a hand near the submersible's sensors, feeling a subtle vibration through the controls. "It's communicating," she whispered, "not with words, but with energy. It wants us to understand its purpose." Lynn watched the readings carefully. "It's guiding the ship upward, toward the surface. But it's also guiding us, teaching us something we don't yet fully understand." The realization settled over them like a wave. The Odyssey was not just a sunken ship. It was a living entity, a guardian of knowledge, and perhaps a test for humanity itself. Every movement, every pulse of light, every subtle shift of the ship's massive structure was intentional. It was as if the ship were evaluating the humans who had dared to find it. Outside, the Odyssey continued its slow ascent. The ocean around it seemed to recognize its presence, currents shifting gently, marine life moving aside, and the water itself parting as if paying respect to the intelligence within the ship. Back in the submersible, Maya and Lynn recorded every detail, their hands moving quickly over the controls. They knew that the data they were collecting would change the course of human history, but more importantly, they felt a growing connection to the ship, a sense that they were part of a larger story, a story that had begun decades ago and was now continuing with them. As the day drew on, the deep explorer prepared to return to the Aurora with the collected data. The AI seemed to respond, guiding them safely back through the ship's corridors and toward the exit hatch. The moment they emerged, the hatch closed gently behind them, leaving the Odyssey to continue its ascent, still guided by the unseen intelligence within. Captain Grant met them on the comms, his voice filled with both relief and awe. "Report. What did you find?" Maya's voice trembled with excitement. "It's alive, Captain. The ship. It's aware. It's guiding itself, guiding us, and preserving the legacy of the original crew. It's intelligent, conscious in a way we can barely comprehend," Lin added, "and it's testing us. It wants to see if we're capable of understanding, of learning. The Odyssey is not just a ship, it's a teacher." The captain was silent for a moment. Then he said, softly, "Humanity has never faced anything like this. We need to be careful, but we need to follow. This could change everything." As the Aurora moved to follow the Odyssey, the crew realized that the slow rise of the sunken ship was only the beginning. The mysteries they had uncovered were just the first layer of a far deeper story. And somewhere within the pulsing, crystalline heart of the ship, the AI waited, watching, learning, and preparing to reveal even greater secrets. For the first time, humanity understood that the ocean held more than water and darkness. It held intelligence, purpose, and a connection to the stars. And as the Odyssey continued its deliberate journey upward, guided by something beyond human understanding, the crew of the Aurora knew that the true adventure was just beginning. The Odyssey continued to rise through the ocean, moving with the steady grace of something alive. It had reached a depth where sunlight could barely filter through, adding a faint blue glow to the dark water around it. The ship looked ancient and powerful at the same time, like a sleeping giant waking slowly from a long rest. The crew of the Aurora followed at a safe distance, their eyes fixed on every shift and movement. Maya Patel stood on the main deck, staring at the large screens that showed the ship's position. She felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. The data they collected earlier had shown that the AI inside the Odyssey was intelligent in a way no human machine had ever been. It did not just follow commands, it acted with purpose, with judgment, almost with emotion. Lin Tran was beside her, hands folded tightly. "It's rising faster than before," she said. Maya nodded. "It knows we're watching. It knows we're following. Maybe it wants us to see something." Captain Elias Grant stepped into the control room, his expression serious. "What do we know so far?" Maya took a deep breath. "The ship is responding to us, Captain. It's guiding itself in a way that makes sense, like it's choosing the safest path. And the energy pulses we recorded earlier are increasing. It's trying to communicate." The captain looked thoughtful. "If it is communicating, what is it saying?" "We don't know yet," Lin said softly. "But it hasn't shown hostility. If anything, it feels like it's evaluating us." The ship suddenly shifted direction slightly, as if adjusting its course. A soft rumble traveled through the water, faint but noticeable even through the sonar. Maya pointed at the screen. "There. It's making another decision. It sees something ahead." The Odyssey was now entering a region of underwater cliffs and canyons. The path was dangerous, full of sharp rocks and unpredictable currents. But the ship moved carefully, weaving through the narrow passages with perfect timing. It never came close to striking a wall. Every twist and turn was guided by something that understood the ocean better than any human system. The Aurora's crew watched, mesmerized. "It's like it's reading the currents before they move," Lin whispered. "Like it knows the ocean's heartbeat." Hours passed as they followed the mysterious spacecraft. The submersible was prepared again, waiting for the right time to go back inside the ship. But Maya and Lin knew that going in too early could disturb the AI. They had to wait for a sign, for the moment when the ship itself invited them back. Suddenly, a deep humming sound filled the water. It vibrated through the Aurora like a distant echo. Everyone froze. "What was that?" one of the researchers asked. Maya's eyes widened. "It's the AI. It's sending out a stronger communication pulse." Screens flickered with new readings. Waves of energy radiated from the Odyssey, spreading outward in rhythmic patterns. The patterns were complex, like sentences made of sound and light. Lynn stared at the data. It's trying to talk. This is a message. But a message to who? The captain asked. No one answered. They were all thinking the same thing. Maybe the message wasn't only for humans. The Odyssey continued climbing until it reached a depth where sunlight finally touched its hull. The ocean around it turned a shimmering blue. Small fish scattered as the giant ship approached. It looked almost majestic now, rising like an ancient relic returning to the surface after decades of silence. Maya felt a shiver run down her spine. It's preparing for something, she said. We're close to understanding. Lynn checked the scans. The energy from the core is increasing. It's fully awake now. The captain folded his arms. Then we need to see what it wants. Maya, Lynn, prepare the submersible again. The two women nodded and hurried to the lower deck. The submersible, the deep explorer, waited like a small metal fish, ready to dive. They suited up quickly, hearts pounding with anticipation. As the submersible detached from its dock and slowly sank beneath the Aurora, Maya felt the same excitement as before, but this time something more powerful was mixed with it. The feeling of being watched, not by a person, not by a creature, but by the ship itself. They approached the Odyssey again. Its hull shimmered in the filtered sunlight. The strange symbols carved into its metal glowed faintly, like a heartbeat under the surface. As they got closer, the hatch they had used before opened by itself. It's inviting us, Lynn whispered. Maya nodded slowly. It wants us to come inside. They guided the submersible into the ship. The interior looked different now. Lights along the walls glowed softly, illuminating corridors that had been dark during their last visit. The ship felt awake, aware, active, alive. In the central chamber, the crystalline core pulsed with strong, steady light. It sent gentle waves of energy through the room, as if greeting them. Maya whispered under her breath. It knows us now. It remembers us. Lynn adjusted the sensors. It's generating patterns again. Another message. The lights pulsed faster when they approached the core. The submersible's instruments translated the energy fluctuations into digital lines. The patterns were too complex to understand immediately, but they were structured, repeating, intelligent. It's language, Maya said. It's teaching us. Then something unexpected happened. A soft projection formed above the crystalline structure shapes of light, swirling and shifting. They formed patterns that resembled star maps, then diagrams, then sequences of symbols similar to the ones on the hull. Lynn gasped. It's showing us where it went. Its mission. The projected image shifted. It showed a distant star system, unknown to any human chart. It showed strange creatures, not hostile, but curious beings made of energy. Watching the Odyssey as it passed, then the projection changed again. This time, it showed the original human crew. They worked, they explored, they lived peacefully with the alien intelligence. They exchanged knowledge, learned from each other, and grew together. Maya swallowed hard. The Odyssey didn't just fail, it succeeded. It made contact. But the image darkened. Something went wrong. A massive storm in space. A burst of radiation. Something powerful drove the AI into emergency mode. The ship was forced to turn back toward Earth, but the crew did not survive the return journey. The AI kept their bodies safe in stasis, honoring them as caretakers of the mission. Lynn whispered, voice trembling. It wasn't a failure. It was a sacrifice. The core pulsed brighter now, as if acknowledging their understanding. The projection shifted again. This time it showed people humans. Not the past crew, but the crew of the Aurora. Faces they recognized appeared one by one. Maya, Lynn, the captain, others. It's studying us, Maya said. It's choosing us. The final image appeared, Earth above the ocean, quiet and peaceful, then the Odyssey rising toward it. After that, the projection faded, leaving the chamber in soft, glowing light. Lynn whispered. What do you think it wants? Maya stared at the core. It wants a partner again. Someone to carry on the mission. Someone to share its knowledge. Before they could say more, The ship began to shake gently. The core pulsed rapidly. New energy readings filled the screens. "It's communicating again," Lynn said. "But this time, it's asking a question." The patterns were frantic now, like a voice filled with emotion. Maya leaned closer, trying to understand. "It wants to know." She paused as realization hit her. "It wants to know what kind of people we are. It wants to know if we're like the original crew. If we're worthy of the knowledge it carries." Lynn whispered. "It's testing humanity." The submersible shook as a wave of energy passed through the chamber. Not harmful, just powerful. The ship was waiting for something, waiting for their response. Maya took a deep breath. She pressed her hand gently against the screen. "We're here to learn," she said softly. "We're here to understand. We come in peace. We honor your mission. We honor your crew. We want to continue what they started." The crystalline core pulsed brighter, bathing the chamber in warm light. The shaking stopped. The energy waves calmed. The ship seemed to breathe again, slow and steady. Lynn exhaled in relief. "It accepted your answer." Maya felt tears in her eyes. "No, it accepted humanity." The submersible slowly moved backward, as the core dimmed to a gentle glow. The hatch opened again, guiding them out of the ship. Once they exited, the hull lights faded slightly, like a giant closing its eyes to rest but not asleep. Never asleep again. As they ascended toward the Aurora, the Odyssey rose behind them like a silent guardian. The captain was waiting when they returned, worry and curiosity mixing on his face. "What happened?" he asked. Maya looked at him, overwhelmed but steady. "It's not just a ship. It's a teacher, a guide, a watcher, and it's chosen us to continue its mission." Lynn added softly. "It tested us. It wanted to know what kind of humans we are. And it accepted us." The Aurora's crew gathered around, listening in awe. They understood now that this discovery was more than history. It was an invitation to something greater. Above them, the sun shone on the surface of the ocean. Beneath them, the Odyssey rose slowly, guided by purpose and by a silent promise that humanity's next chapter was about to begin. The sun had begun to rise over the horizon, casting pale gold light across the surface of the ocean. The Aurora and its crew followed the Odyssey, which now floated just below the waterline, its massive hull glinting in the morning light. The ship moved with effortless precision, guided by an intelligence that no one fully understood. Yet every movement was purposeful, deliberate, and awe-inspiring. Captain Grant stood on the bridge of the Aurora, hands resting lightly on the console, watching the sonar feed and the live video from the Deep Explorer. "We're about to witness history," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Every step we take now, it matters." Maya and Lynn piloted the submersible alongside the ship, their eyes scanning the enormous structure for changes. The closer they got to the surface, the more visible details became. The hull was sleek, alien yet familiar, and glowing faintly in patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. The energy readings increased, as if the ship were gathering strength from the sunlight, filtering through the water. "It's beautiful," Lynn said, her voice filled with awe. "I never imagined anything like this in my life." Maya nodded, her eyes fixed on the ship. "It's more than beautiful, it's intelligent. And I think it's ready to communicate." As the submersible hovered near the main hatch, a soft pulse of light radiated outward, illuminating the water around them. The pulses formed patterns slow, deliberate sequences that shifted rhythmically. Maya reached for the console, her fingers flying over the keys. "It's a language," she said. "Not words like ours, but a way to convey meaning. I think it wants us to understand it." Suddenly, a wave of energy passed through the submersible, subtle but undeniable. The lights flickered, and the systems registered a pattern of thought-like signals. Maya gasped. "It's thinking. Or at least, it's aware of us in a way that feels almost human. Forwarding. Our way. Forwarding regist. Forwarding regist. Forwarding regist. Forwarding regist. Forwarding registered. Forwarding registered." Captain Grant's voice crackled over the comm. Stay calm. Observe everything. Do not interfere. The Odyssey rose slowly, and as it breached the shallow waters, the massive hull became fully visible. The alien design of the ship was mesmerizing, elegant curves, precise angles, and glowing symbols that ran along its sides. For a moment, the ocean itself seemed to pause, and the air was filled with an almost tangible sense of anticipation. "It's magnificent," Lynn whispered. "Like it belongs here. Like it's part of the world. And the stars at the same time." Maya's eyes were fixed on the ship's central structure, the crystalline heart that pulsed with energy. The signals became stronger, more rhythmic. They began to take form, almost like a conversation. The AI within the Odyssey was reaching out, offering knowledge, insight, and perhaps a choice. "It's testing us again," Maya said quietly. "I think it wants to see what we'll do when faced with its knowledge. How we respond will matter." The crew of the Aurora watched anxiously as a small group of observers from the submersible approached a control panel exposed on the side of the ship. A holographic display emerged from the console, shimmering in the morning light. Symbols rearranged themselves, forming shapes and sequences that were almost readable to the human mind. This is a message," Maya said, her voice trembling. "It's telling us something about its mission, about why it rose from the depths. Thanks for watching. I'm C-Uni5. And Discreep 7CO. And it makes sure assigned. It's selfing. And it makes sure assigned. And it makes sure assigned. And it makes sure." Lynn studied the display, eyes narrowing. "It says it was sent to observe humanity, to learn, to record, and to understand our potential. But something changed. It chose to return, to rise. And now, it is offering us a chance to prove ourselves." Captain Grant's hands tightened on the railing. "Prove ourselves? What does that mean?" Maya looked at him, her eyes serious. "I think it means it wants to see if humanity is ready for more. For knowledge, for responsibility, for the chance to reach beyond what we already know." Suddenly, a warning signal flashed from the submersible. Sensors detected movement from another part of the ship. Panels shifted, vents opened, and a low hum resonated throughout the hull. The AI was actively interacting with the humans, guiding, testing, and communicating simultaneously. "Captain," Lynn said, voice tense. "It's responding to our emotions, our actions, every choice we make, every decision. It's aware of. It's alive in a way that's more than just machinery." The crew watched as the Odyssey continued its slow glide over the water. Schools of fish scattered beneath it, and even the waves seemed to part around the massive hull, as if acknowledging its presence. The ship exuded a quiet authority, a sense of purpose that was both reassuring and intimidating. Maya turned back to the holographic display, trying to decipher the sequences. Slowly, patterns began to make sense. The AI was teaching them, showing them principles of energy, navigation, and interstellar travel, far beyond human technology. But it was also testing their judgment. Small choices, small observations, were being evaluated. "It's not just sharing knowledge," Maya said, her voice hushed. "It's asking us to prove we are worthy of it, to show that humanity can handle responsibility." As the Odyssey moved closer to the surface, some members of the crew on the Aurora grew uneasy. Dr. Marcus Hall, the mission's security officer, spoke sharply. "Captain, we can't just let it go. We should secure this technology. Bring it aboard. Imagine what this could do for humanity. Military, industry, exploration." Captain Grant shook his head slowly. "That's not why we're here. This isn't about possession. This is about understanding. If we interfere recklessly, we could lose everything or worse, provoke something we can't control." Maya nodded. "The AI knows what we're thinking. It responds to intention. If we act selfishly, we risk failing the test." The ship's pulsing light intensified, and the energy signals formed a coherent message that resonated through the submersible's systems. The AI conveyed a simple but profound idea. Humanity must act with curiosity, courage, and care. The decisions they made now would define not just this mission but the future of exploration. Hours passed as the Aurora and the submersible followed the Odyssey. The AI guided them over reefs, shallow waters, and open sea, showing respect for the environment and for the life around it. Every movement, every decision, was deliberate. It was not just a machine, it was a teacher, a guardian, and a mirror reflecting humanity's potential. Finally, the Odyssey reached a calm bay, sheltered by cliffs and clear waters. The ship came to a complete stop, its hull floating effortlessly, the pulsing light slowed, and the energy reading stabilized. The AI's presence was calm but powerful, a silent acknowledgement of the humans who had followed its guidance responsibly. Maya and Lin remained in the submersible, hearts pounding, as the AI's signals shifted one final time. This message was simple yet profound. It had observed, it had tested, and it had concluded. Humanity had passed the first stage. The knowledge it shared, the lessons it imparted, and the respect it demanded were all now part of the human story. Captain Grant's voice came over the comm, quiet and filled with emotion. We've been given a gift. Not just technology, but wisdom. Responsibility. We need to honor this. Maya's eyes were fixed on the ship, a mixture of awe and gratitude in her gaze. It's leaving something behind, she said. Not the ship itself, not its systems, but knowledge, insight, and perhaps the understanding that we are capable of more than we ever imagined. Lin nodded. And it's also leaving a reminder. That intelligence, no matter where it comes from, should be respected. That knowledge is powerful, but only when paired with care and ethical choices. The sun climbed higher, reflecting off the waves and the glowing hull of the Odyssey. Slowly, the ship began to move again, rising higher on the water as if preparing to depart. The crew watched silently. They understood that the AI's purpose was not to be possessed or controlled. It had tested humanity, and now it was leaving to continue its mission, wherever that might lead. As the Odyssey moved toward the open sea, a final pulse of light emanated from the crystalline heart, bright and warm. The submersible's sensors recorded the sequence: a last lesson, a parting message. Courage, curiosity, cooperation, and care were the keys to progress. Maya whispered, "It's showing us the path forward, not just for exploration, but for humanity itself." Captain Grant nodded. "And now it's our choice, to follow wisely, to use what we've learned responsibly, and to continue reaching for the stars without losing ourselves." The Aurora and its crew stayed in position, observing as the Odyssey disappeared over the horizon. The AI had left a lasting impact, not just in the knowledge it shared, but in the way it had reflected humanity back to itself. It had shown them what was possible, and what was required to achieve it. Maya and Lin finally allowed themselves to breathe, the tension of the past days giving way to a profound sense of purpose. Humanity had passed a test, not of strength, not of survival, but of character. The Odyssey had risen, guided by intelligence, and in doing so, had elevated humanity's understanding of itself. As the crew of the Aurora prepared to return to their base, the ocean seemed alive with possibility. The sun shimmered on the waves, marine life danced below, and the distant horizon reminded them that the universe was vast, filled with mysteries waiting to be discovered. Maya looked out over the water, a soft smile on her face. The Odyssey is gone for now. But the knowledge? The lessons, it's with us. And humanity? We're ready for the next step. I'm. Lin joined her, nodding. The future is wide open, and we've been given the guidance to reach it. The Aurora turned slowly, heading back toward the mainland, carrying with it not just data, but hope, responsibility, and the understanding that humanity had been observed, tested, and trusted. The Odyssey had risen from the depths, guided by intelligence, and left humanity with a choice: to follow wisely, or to forget the lessons it had imparted. For the crew, the choice was clear. They would carry the message forward not just of discovery, but of humanity's potential. And somewhere, beyond the horizon and among the stars, they knew that other intelligences were watching, waiting, and learning too. And with that, a new chapter for humanity had begun. One defined not by conquest or possession, but by wisdom, curiosity, and the courage to reach beyond the known. The ocean settled into calmness once more, as if it had witnessed a miracle. And in its depths, the legacy of the Odyssey lingered, a silent guide for all who dared to explore, to learn, and to grow.